Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan here with you, and I know Saints fans, as soon as the Falcons clinched a playoff spot, they figured, oh no, hopefully we don't face them again. Look, the last time they faced the Falcons in the playoffs, it didn't go so well. This is back in the 1991 season. The Saints won the division and lost to Atlanta in the playoffs. Jeff, do you feel like, A, there is a viable chance that they even face each other in this postseason?
Well, I think there's a possibility because I think the NFC is wide open. There's no dominant team in the NFC. There's no New England Patriots, no Pittsburgh Steelers. I think all 6 teams have a shot to make it to Minneapolis in the Super Bowl. Certainly the Falcons have playoff experience. They went to the Super Bowl a year ago. Matt Ryan's one of the few bona fide elite quarterbacks left in the postseason. But I don't think it's a likelihood that Atlanta's going to go on the road and win all these games. But I do think it's interesting, Larry, Saints fans, for the first time ever, might be rooting for the Falcons because it's the only chance the Saints have of hosting the NFC Championship game is if Atlanta advances through the wild card round and wins the divisional round and the Saints advance out. It's the only chance the Saints have to play the NFC Championship game here. So there's a reason to root for Atlanta.
Yeah, be the playoff scenario we're talking about. The Saints would have to win out. The Falcons would have to win out. So let's say the Falcons, if they win, they would go to Philadelphia.
Correct.
And if the Saints won, they would go to Minnesota. So basically, the Saints would have to beat Minnesota in Minnesota, and the Falcons would have to beat Philly in Philly, and that would create an NFC title game here in the Dome. We don't think it's very likely, but there is a scenario, and it won't be in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It would only be in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome because the Saints are the 4 seed, Falcons are the 6 seed. They have to go on the road the rest of the way to actually make the Super Bowl.
Right. So, I mean, the easy way to think about this is Philadelphia, as the number 1 seed in the NFC, will always play the lowest seeded team. And so if Atlanta beats the Rams this week, they would go to Philly, and the Saints would end up in Minnesota. Minnesota is very difficult to beat up there in U.S. Bank Stadium, but there's a lot of pressure on the Vikings, a lot of pressure internally up there to get to the Super Bowl because it's in their home stadium and their history, a lot like the old Saints history in that they've never won a Super Bowl. So there's a lot of pressure on them, I think, from their fan base, a lot of angst historically to get over the hump, and I think that could work against them when they get in the playoffs with Case Keenum as a quarterback.
No doubt. So basically the Saints have to win out, Falcons have to win out, and they would not meet until the NFC title game, and that game would be in the Dome. But again, we don't think it's going to be very likely. It'll be a tough road.
Seems like a long shot, but there is a possibility. And if any year for it to maybe happen, it seems like this year because there's just no juggernaut in the NFC.
Definitely wide open. So check out all of our coverage of all things Saints at NOLA.com and in our print editions of the Times-Picayune. So for Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, thanks for joining us.